Hey guys, welcome back. This came yesterday. This is a 64 Volkswagen bus. It literally just came from the sandblaster right to me. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use epoxy primer, direct to metal epoxy primer. And we're just gonna get a good 2 coats of epoxy primer on this van. And then it's going to leave to get the rest of the metal work done on it. And then it'll come back in the future for paint work. Body work and paint. That part of the roof didn't get blasted because that is getting a new panel in the back because it has some rust holes through it. So they did not sandblast that area. I'm not gonna be able to get all the areas epoxied, just try to get as much as I possibly can. I'm gonna push this back outside. We just pushed it in here last night because look at all the sand everywhere. So I'm gonna push this outside and try to blow all this sand out as much as possible out of here. And then I'm going to wipe as much of this down as I can with a wax and grease remover. Just wanna make sure there's no oils or anything left on here. So other than that, that's about it. The doors are blasted as well. Those also need a primer job. I don't know if I can probably hang a couple of them in here, but I won't be able to hang them all right now. The bottoms of the doors need fixed. He's gonna order the parts to fix the corners and stuff like that and put them on. But we just wanna get an epoxy primer before anything starts rusting. And then he'll just grind the areas down that need fixed, and then after that he'll just probably use 1K spray can primer just to cover over his welds just so they don't rust. This is already a new piece on here, so this already has a primer on it. You can tell where he stopped sandblasting. This already has an epoxy primer on it, but I'll probably just scuff it down and throw some epoxy primer on the nose as well. There are some other panels that have been replaced already. There's been some patches done here and here. There was some sort of an outlet or something there that they got rid of, and this lower quarter's been replaced, and they've done some work to the inner wheel wells and stuff like that already. And these corners are new, and it's been welded right there. So quite a bit's already been done. They're gonna put sheet metal floors in it, just straight flat sheet metal rather than the factory ones, because I guess this is gonna get a plywood floor put in it, and then vinyl flooring or something like that's going in here. So, but let me get this all blown off and cleaned up, and then we will set up and spray a couple coats of epoxy primer on it. Okay, I got it all blown out, vacuumed, and back in here. I have it pushed really far towards the back wall. I don't have a lot of room back here, but I hung 2 of the side doors up in front here so that I can get these epoxied with everything else. I'll have to do these tomorrow separate. So I'm gonna get set up here. I'm gonna put 2 coats of epoxy on. I'm probably not gonna videotape the whole thing. It's gonna take me a while to get around this whole bus, the roof, inside, and everything else. On the inside, I'll probably just do 1 coat because I don't want to step back into there for a second coat. So I'll just try to get 1 nice coat inside of all this and then come back for a second coat. So I'm going to go ahead and shake this epoxy primer 1 more time, and then we'll mix it up. It's a 1-to-1 mix. It's a direct to metal epoxy primer from Summit Racing. I'll show it to you here in a minute. I read up a little more on this. You can do 2 coats, but 1 is all you need. So we'll probably just do 1 coat on the whole bus. But this is direct to metal epoxy primer. It is a 1-to-1 mix, 1 part primer, 1 part catalyst. So basically, I'm gonna use a regular mixing cup and we'll pour it into the PPS cups. So this is a 32, this goes up to 26 ounces. The next line would be 28. So we'll probably go 14 and then up to that top line, which is 28. And we'll just have to keep refilling the cup because we're gonna go through a lot of this. It's gonna be a mess. I'm gonna put my suit on to try to keep it off my arms and everything, because I'm gonna have to be spraying above me, in front of me, below me, So it's going to be a big pain in the butt. So I'll try to videotape quite a bit of it, but I don't think you guys want to watch me for a half an hour spraying primer on this thing. It'll probably get a little boring. So let me get my suit on, and then we're going to mix some of this up, and we will start spraying. Okay, I have my spray suit on and my crappy boots. Put on a pair of gloves. Mix up some of this. And we're going to start with spraying the inside of the bus and then work our way out. The more I think about it, one coat should be just fine, because he's going to be grinding off areas to weld and stuff like that. We're just trying to seal up this metal so we don't start getting flash rusting, surface rusting on any of this, especially from hands and stuff like that. I did move the bus forward just a little bit so I can get behind it a little bit easier. So we're just going to go 14 and then 28. This stuff is a little bit on the thick side. This whole kit with everything you need is it's roughly about $200. If you don't have any of this stuff, it'll be a little bit more, because you got to get wax and grease remover, probably some thinners and stuff like that to clean your guns with. So figure to do something like this for just material, you're probably looking at about $300. It does kind of stink, but it's nice stuff. It works really well. You want to make sure that you get an epoxy primer that says direct to metal, because they make other ones that are more of a sealer and it doesn't say direct to metal. So you want to definitely watch out for that. What I'm doing here is just poking some holes in the rim so that this puddle of primer that's left will soak back into the can, or drip back into the can rather. I do this a lot on gallon containers. And I think this only has like a 2-hour pot life, so you don't want to go mixing this up and take several hours to use it, because you'll run out of time and it'll start hardening up in the gun or in the cup. So you want to mix this and just get right to it. And you want to thoroughly mix this, because you put your primer in first. I guess you could put your catalyst in first. It really doesn't matter which way, but you want to really stir it, because at first the two don't really want to, mix together. You really need to stir it up. Maybe it would be better to put the catalyst in first, because the primer's heavier and maybe it'll kind of soak through the catalyst. And then don't stick your stick back into the gallon container, because it has hardened material. It'll be hardened, and you'll end up getting clumps in your gallon of epoxy primer. Now, I bought this especially just for this bus, because I will use it again as a sealer before I put on the paint for the car, or I will use it before. I probably won't use it as a sealer for the paint, but what I'll use it as is a sealer before I filler prime. So once I start doing body work on the bus and I sand through and I hit bare metal, before I put my 2K primer on, we'll put a coat of this over top of the body work area and the metal area. We'll let that set for a half an hour to an hour, and then we can go ahead and put our 2K primer over top. What that'll do is seal up all the metal once again, so that the 2K primer I use is not made direct to metal. So you got to make sure that you follow the instructions and everything, so you don't go putting that over your metal. I've done it before in the past on stupid things like interior parts and stuff like that, and I've never had a problem with it, but you don't want to do it on something when you're doing a whole paint job or something like that. It's not worth risking it. So, all right, let's get this poured in here. We don't have to strain it because there's a strainer in the lid. So we're just gonna get this filled up. And I'm using my bigger spray gun. It has a 1.7 tip rather than a 1.4 tip because this stuff is a little bit thicker. And by using the 1.7 tip, we'll end up applying it thicker to the vehicle. So that's why originally I was gonna use the 1.4 tip and do 2 coats, but we're gonna use this tip and lay it on a little bit thicker. We shouldn't get any runs or anything like that, but if we do, I'm not worried about it, but we should be fine. So let me get positioned out there and we will start spraying this. I'm going to finish up in the front cab area and then I'll show you that. Inside the front is all done. side of this, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, now I'm going to go in the front and get these doors done. The front of the bus, including the front of the roof, and then I want to get underneath the front end, which I'll do that off camera. You're not going to be able to see under there anyways. All right, I'm gonna get underneath the front now. I'm done. I used almost 2 gallons. There's maybe a quart left in, I used about 1.5 gallons so far. There's probably a quart left in there and a quart left in this. So that is a lot more than I thought I was gonna use. But I ended up getting underneath it the best I could. I gotta tighten that lid down. Tomorrow I'll spray those other doors, but I won't video that. Now it's gonna look a little blotchy as it's drying, and it's gonna have a little bit of a texture to it because the glass beads that they used obviously textured up the metal a little bit. But everything's coated except for that area inside and on top because that's getting cut out and replaced. I got underneath it as best I could. It's very hard to get underneath there with your spray gun, but you can kind of see underneath there. I laid on the floor and got underneath there as best I could. Still wet on this side, obviously it's drying still. All the back is done in here. Got underneath there as best I could. Sunday this is leaving. It's heading back to the guy's house. It's not supposed to rain on Sunday, so he'll come and pick it up. I'll get those doors done tomorrow, and he'll be able to take all this stuff with him. So, alright, that's going to end this video. Figured I'd do a quick video of putting epoxy primer on this. And this is going to be a future project where you'll see me body work, filler prime, block sand, body work, filler prime, block sand a couple times. And then we're going to paint this 2 different colors. It's almost like a mint green on the bottom. And then at this point right here, this line, it's going to be like an off-white the rest of the top. We are going to use single stage urethane paint rather than base coat, clear coat. These are non-metallic colors, and I just think some of these non-metallic colors in a single stage urethane wet sand and buff really nicely. This is going to be more of a car that's driven maybe 30-40 times a year, so it's not going to be in the sun all the time. So it'll have plenty of UV protection. Paint will last a really long time. Alright guys, this is going to end this video. If you like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to send them. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow.